My name is Mae Dorricott.
And as our blue planet has made its way around the sun yet another time, I've had the journey of a lifetime as the Our World Underwater Scholarship Society's 2017 European Rolex Scholar. This scholarship was a gift of time. Time to fill a year with first-hand experience, adventure, diving, and science in the field. A chance to observe what is currently happening in the ocean, learn how to tell stories of the ocean's beautiful life, and absorb knowledge from those who study it to those who depend on it. I was given a chance to find where I fit into it all. And after 33 flights to 14 different countries, I think I've found it. Shy of 365 days, I have dived into the ocean over 150 times, being able to jump into a variety of underwater habitats, each increasing my appreciation for the bounty of life in the sea. But I've been diving from the age of 12, a PADI dive master and a HSE commercial scientific diver. It was time to push myself. GUE Fundamentals was one challenge to push my diving skills, iron out old habits, and to become confident in my diving capabilities when introduced to new and challenging environments. And I did go into some challenging environments, igniting a new love for the overhead environment with Christina Zanato in the Bohemian Caves. And in Baja California with Cortez Expeditions, I took my next step in the diving professional ladder by undertaking my PADI instructor development course. But my biggest challenge was learning how to use a rebreather. Guided by the fantastic and most knowledgeable Mark Powell, I jumped out of my comfort zone and pursued skills in diving without bubbles, a qualification that came into its own in a later experience. The underwater world has held my undivided attention for as long as I can remember. Since a child, I've been curious to who lives there. How do they live in this environment that we're just not evolved to survive in? And with this gift of the scholarship network, I was able to join researchers as they asked these questions. I've joined Necton Mission as they develop a standardized methodology to study the deep sea. In Fiji, I saw Dr. Adam Barnett and lead scientists from BAD and projects abroad tag sharks to decipher how their metabolism could be affected by tourism. At the NGO Algalita in Long Beach, California, I contributed back to one of the oldest records of plastic concentration in the ocean. I sifted through the plastic soup of the Pacific Gyre. At the world-famous moat founded by Dr. Eugenie Clark in Florida, I interned in the ecotoxicology lab. Here I was able to further my laboratory skills as we monitored for toxins in the local waterways, known to the locals as red tide. Aboard the Rodney Fox Shark Experience, I was able to help Professor Charlie Hoover-Neers. Here we continued his research on great white sharks. We were collecting data on how the sharks reacted to a variety of surfboard repellents and which repellent worked the best. But the pinnacle experience of my year, which seemed to put my role in the industry into perspective, was when I was invited to Ponape, Micronesia, by Dr. Sonia Rowley. Sonia is 1 out of 3 people to ever win the David Attenborough Award for fieldwork. The expedition continued her work to explore the mesophotic reefs of Ponape and its sister atolls by using rebreather technology. Her muse that takes her down to 140 meters are gorgonians. At this depth, gorgonians thrive and dominate, and after most of her 6-hour-long dives, she would surface holding a new species. Sonia, what have you found?
New species of Parisis, right? And it's awesome. I love it. Found it on a wave-cut ledge, around 100 meters depth, on Paquin Atoll.
Here it is.
The new species.
My task was to collect baseline data for the distribution of sponges with depth and between the sites. This was to help Sonia with future experiments she had planned, and also I was able to contribute to a chapter of Ponapean reefs to be published in Springer. And although it was the most remote, captivating and wonderful place I've ever been, my heart ached at the state of the reefs. Comparing this footage of the previous year's expedition to what we saw was devastating. With a huge hit of coral bleaching, followed by algae overgrowth, coupled with overfishing from international fishing fleets, it was clear that the shallow reefs were on a rapid decline in health.
But when we spoke with the locals, we noticed it wasn't a gap in knowledge from ignorance, but just from an inability to see underneath the sea. So when we shared what we had observed, it generated empowerment and a want for change. And this is what I wanted to do. Learn how to communicate and share with others what I'm able to see.
Dr. Alex Mustard, world-class underwater photographer, invited me to his underwater photography workshop in the Red Sea. He timed the trip perfectly to see schools of fish gather for summer spawning and taught me how powerful imagery can be. If you capture someone's attention with something that is stunningly beautiful, you may be able to hold their attention long enough for them to question how this animal lives its life. My photography lessons continued with William Tan in Lembe, famously known as the Mecca for macro. The Lembe Strait holds a bounty of small, wacky-looking animals, which William taught me how to capture looking proud and regal from their small perspective. We saw the usual suspects, mantis shrimps, frogfish, mimic and blue-ringed octopus, but it wasn't for these creatures of the day for which we came to see. As night fell, we prepared to jump back in, not over the reef but over deep water, and hanging in the dark abyss we waited for plankton and larvae to emerge from out of the gloom. They were beautiful and mesmerizing, dominating this 3D world released from inertia and gravity. It was really hard to keep up with them as they swirled and buzzed around us. But something that had caught back up with me was the stark realization of the plastic plague. In this place of the highest biodiversity I have ever seen was an incredible amount of plastic pollution. And I knew it was bad, but it was still overwhelming by its presence in these habitats that should be kept pristine because of its uniqueness. As divers, we can see for ourselves the plastic in the environment and be a point of reference for others in the community. In Wellington, New Zealand, I was able to join the ghost fishing net team as they brought a whole community together to rid their local waterways of plastic. But we can't just keep on cleaning up our mess. Emphasis needs to be put on turning off the tap. So I joined Libby Bowles with her campaign Tread Lighter.
I've been joined by Mae for a few days of cycling. Yeah. I'm already dying.
With her homemade bamboo bike and all of the gear she needs to live on the road tied to the back, she has been cycling school to school, spreading the word of cutting out single-use plastic. After just a week of joining her, I was exhausted. Following this, I had the most serendipitous experience sailing with Captain Charlie Moore, the sailing oceanographer, who brought attention to what is known as the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. I joined him as he sailed down to the 6th International Marine Conference in San Diego and listened to his stories and realized plastic isn't going to go away anytime soon. But as we move more towards innovation and collaboration, we're becoming closer to the solution to mend this broken system.
And I've seen the success of conservation through collaboration before.
In Fiji, the traditional owners of the reef, which is now the dive spot for the famous Benga bull shark dive, are benefiting from the tourism attraction. This positive relationship is enforcing the locals' commitment to protecting the sharks, and instead of killing or selling the sharks, they helped tag them instead. And it comes back to a full circle. There is nothing better than seeing these animals in their natural habitats. And I saw this on a grand scale during our Lindblad expeditions to Baja, California. It is unbelievably magical when a huge animal such as a grey whale willingly breaks the interface of our two worlds. Without even knowing what they gain from it, they let us reach out to them and their newborn calves. It was beautiful and a humbling experience. I love seeing people's perceptions change, and this was an everyday observation aboard the Rodney Fox Experience when tourists came to see great white sharks. But what they came away with was the notion that these animals aren't mindless predators, but beautiful, clever, and utterly graceful. This year has been amazing. I have been inspired by the sea and her constant ability to make me enthralled.
And then there's all of the wonderful people that I met.
The scholarship has provided me with invaluable tools to continue to forge this path that I've begun to feel is my own. I have been motivated and injected with passion by the many mentors who have divulged why they do and what they do, and encouraged me to believe that I have something important to give back. And although I was torn for so long of how I was going to contribute back to the underwater world, or even how to define myself, constantly being asked and asking myself, how do I fit into this all? I know now, though, that I am all of the above. A marine biologist, passionate about understanding how all the pieces fit together. A communicator, facilitating dialogue between research and the people who depend on the sea. A storyteller, igniting others' interests. And a conservationist, determined to protect our planet's blue heart. But above all, I am an ocean enthusiast.
This year of adventure and self-discovery would not have been possible without the Our World Underwater Scholarship Society.
With the Society's support and the amazing sponsorship from Rolex, I have had a year I will not be soon forgetting. Thank you. Thank you for giving me the time and the freedom to explore paths, observe, and gain knowledge that I will utilize to reciprocate the investment you have put in me.